As Your Heart Betrays You, Part 12. A Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction written and narrated by Mira Rose. Artwork by Even Art Adam on Instagram and Tumblr. You can find a link to them in the description box below. If you haven't already, you can also check out the previous 11 parts of the story in the description box. Now then, don't forget to subscribe and smash that bell for notifications, leave a like, and leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. If you aren't sure what to comment, put Ladrien ? Please enjoy As Your Heart Betrays You, Part 12. Marinette Dupang Chang, 20 years old, her heart throbbing. Oh, what a heart-stirring goodbye. She waited for Cat by the window, the movie forgotten and playing in the background as he slid it open. "See you around," he said, his hand on the frame. Yeah. But when? Should she invite him? How long would it be until she saw him again? Don't be a stranger. He smiled, warm in the television light. "Of course not. I owe you product photos, remember?" "Oh, stop." She reached up to give a light shove, but hesitated. That hesitation was her undoing, because she realized that in a parallel timeline, or if this were a normal date, this would be the time for a goodnight kiss. "Good night, Marinette," Cat said, turning to the window as she looked down. "Good night, Cat," she replied, pulling her outstretched hand to her heart, clutching it with her other one. He hesitated, his weight shifting to his toes, then back to his heels as he opened his mouth to say something. "I'll see you." He looked at her, a flash of green in the dim light. The living room light was off, but the kitchen was still on from Alya's entrance. "This weekend?" She couldn't think through the fire on her cheeks. "Yes, this weekend. Sounds good." "Good. Have a good rest of the evening, then." "You too." "Well, bye." "Bye." And with that, he slipped through the window and dropped, disappearing into the shadows of evening, an opportunity for her to breathe like a normal human being again. Marinette shut the window, her fingers hovering above the lock, when she heard Alya's bedroom door click open. She didn't have to turn to see the smile on her face. "Don't," Marinette began, already securing her hand on her forehead. "It's been a long day." "Sure thing, boss. I'll just be over here, in the kitchen, getting food, not wondering what kind of canoodling I walked into." "There were no oodles to canoe, thank you." "Right." "I'm serious. I tugged him like that because he was detransformed." "I'm sorry, what?" Alya yelled, but Marinette didn't turn to look at her. "Not yet." "That explains the light," she mumbled. "What did you think the light was?" She turned to look at her. "I don't know, him living out a fantasy? But now that I think about it, I saw you without the mask before the transformation flash. Ugh, boring." Yes, because that's why he was here, for your entertainment." "I'm telling ya, I'm getting a great deal on this apartment. It's the real estate equivalent of dinner and a show." "I love you and you're gorgeous," Marinette said, rubbing her forehead, "but you're evil and I hate you." I don't see how gorgeous and evil equate together, but I'll take it. Alya plopped onto the couch, still smirking. So, who is he? She shook her head. I don't know. You were sitting on the couch together without masks. If you don't want to tell me, fine, but don't lie about it. I'm not. Marinette plopped next to her. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You didn't look? I told him I wouldn't. Alya stared at her. Her jaw dropped far enough to be a flycatcher. Oh, wait, back up. I'm missing something here. You know, the who, what, when, where, why, how much, and all that? I kept my eyes on the TV so he didn't have to worry about it while Plag ate. That's it. That's the only reason. So Plag could eat. That's why Mr. Perfect Partner took off his mask? Don't read too far into it, Alya. Did you snuggle? I wouldn't, call it that. What did he smell like? Excuse me? Oh, please. Even if the deodorant application is perfect, a natural musk can make or break a relationship on a hormonal level. Did you like it? Did he smell nice? Oh, yeah! She reached and pulled off a throw pillow, smacking her with it as she put her arms up, laughing. You know I'm right. There's nothing worse than a date that just doesn't smell quite right, and it's not their BO. You've literally only ever dated Nino. Oh, shh, I live vicariously. I'm starting to think he's better off dating Cat Noir instead. Wow. Alya rolled her eyes, still smirking. Using my words against me? I've taught you well. I can sell the idea to Nino for 1 potato crisp. And what? Deal with single Pringle Alya? You'd hate that. Marinette clicked her tongue. This was all fun and games, but she couldn't imagine living with Alya as she dated her way through her 20s. Touché. Hey, can I have the last of your sushi? Huh? In the fridge. Oh, wait, there's some left? Come to think of it, she hadn't finished her box. Cat must have put it in the fridge for her. When? Well, it didn't matter. Yeah, a couple of boxes. Looks like he picked up some bento boxes for us to have tomorrow. Sure. Go ahead. Best business partner ever, she called, lowering her voice for the next sentence. And the best business partner's boyfriend ever. Alya. You're horrible. You ate some too. You're just as guilty. Marinette shook her head. You know what I'm getting at. Then fess up. What happened between the two of you? And don't say nothing, because I had my face pressed through the floor crack to watch that goodbye. She threw her hands up. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what I'm thinking. This is new, Alya, for both of us. Alya, musing, kept her smile but lowered her voice. I know, she said. I know. Marinette groaned, tipping to the side until her head hit her roommate's lap. I don't know what I want anymore, Alya. This is why I didn't want to date. I should be focused on the launch right now. I know, dear. She finger-combed her hair, using her free hand to grab the remote to put on a show. I know. You're living for it. Oh, of course. Do I feel bad for you? A bit. Do I feel bad for enjoying this? Her fingers stopped brushing for a moment. Not even a little. The devil wears glasses. Not for long, Alya sang. You owe me LASIK. Marinette sat up, not wanting the comforting touch of a leech. You ever gonna marry that boy of yours? Alya waved her hand. Don't change the subject. This and that are two different flavors of leftover dinner conversations. Her stomach rumbled at the word, and she remembered just how little she'd eaten. A sushi can fill you up all at once, but you don't stay full for long. Tell you what.
What?
I'm gonna go pick up some soda. Alya straightened, a hand retreating to her chest.
Marinette Dupang Chang! She exclaimed. What are we celebrating?
She lowered her voice, peering around with suspicion. Or are we eating our feelings? Can't we do both? Ooh, I love that idea. Pick up some marshmallows while you're at it, and we can grow them over the stove. Nice of you to think of the little ones. It's their favorite activity, so long as we have a fire extinguisher nearby. It was a fair point. The last time they gave the Kwamis toothpicks and little marshmallows, they'd started jousting once they figured out how to start them on fire. Are you walking? Alya asked, opening the bento box she'd chosen before starting their Cat Noir talk. She shook her head. I'm gonna use the mask. Have fun with it then. I'm gonna keep going strong with my Marvel binge. Weren't you watching that with Nino? I can pretend that I didn't watch something. She made a show of flipping between surprised expressions. Besides, it's not like I haven't watched the entire catalog multiple times. Marinette narrowed her eyes. Spot's on. It was better to leave now than after a debate that could go on for literal hours. Oh, wait. Alya reached into her pocket, pulling out cash, in case you find yourself unable to detransform. I'll be fine, thanks. Just take it, you goof. Well, better safe than sorry, right? Ladybug took the folded bills and slid the window frame open. Be back soon. If you aren't back in half an hour, should I assume you need a superhero assist? Or that you're off gallivanting with your superhero assist? Marinette slipped through the frame, turning around to slam it shut while maintaining eye contact with Alya through the glass, who cackled at the gesture. She must have said something else, pointing as her lips moved, but she couldn't discern it. Probably some teasing. Ladybug grabbed a basket at the front door and made her way inside, slipping through the aisles for bottled soda and marshmallows. They already had toothpicks at home, which was good, because she wasn't sure if this mart would have any. It was only her, the clerk, and one other 20-something that just walked in, so it wasn't worth the effort to hide and detransform somewhere first. Alya was right. Cash was the best, non-identifying option for the night. Okay, she had what she needed, right? Turning the corner to go check out, Ladybug bumped into a body and stumbled a few steps back, focusing more on not losing her basket than her balance. Sorry, she began, feeling the stranger grab her shoulder to steady her. I wasn't... No, I should be. You're the one in a bright red suit, after all. No amount of public appearances and surprises prepared Ladybug to physically run into Ladrien Agreste at the corner market. So now that it happened, her standing in a supermarket with a basket that could make a dentist rub their hands together in anticipation of a hefty bill, she didn't know how to stop herself from staring. Ladrien! Well, at least she said who was on her mind, right? Hey, Albie. Snack run? Ladrien took his hand back. You shop here? Honestly? He looked around and lowered his voice. I'm pretty sure this is a drug front. I'm sorry, what? She exclaimed, then clapped a hand over her mouth. Ladrien! Listen, there's never enough foot traffic here to justify keeping it open, right? And the expiration dates? DGAL would have a fit if they vetted this place. A drug front, she hissed. She needed to report this. Hey, no proof, but it works out in our favor, don't you think? It's why I come here, at least. Ladybug realized what he meant. It was hard to go out in public as is, and she has superpowers to get away, or the guise of important government secret meetings to zip to. She only knew a fraction of what Ladrien went through in comparison. A place like this must be one of the few he could visit and still feel like a regular person. "You forgot your bag?" he asked, turning her to the checkout. Heat hit her cheeks as she looked at her basket. That's, Here." He tugged his off his shoulder. "Use mine." "That's..." She looked from his outstretched hand to his eyes. "I can't." "I've literally got one thing." He held up a pack of ramen, crinkling from the motion. "You've got a few bottles. Use mine." "But..." "You're into sustainability and all that, right? Don't worry about it. Besides, it's not like you don't know where to return it when you have a minute." She swallowed, looking between the bag and her basket. He was right. Sighing, she nodded, the person in front of her moving out of the way after paying so she could put her items on the counter. The cashier scanned in silence, and Ladrien didn't add anything either. Checkout lines were awkward enough as is without her ex standing behind her, but relying on him for a bag? Well, at least she was Paris's superhero and not an ex in his eyes. She'd rather die than have this happen to her as Marinette. 20 even, the cashier said, not looking up. Ladybug twisted to get her yo-yo from her hip and opened it, expecting to see the cash from Alya, but her heart dropped when it wasn't inside. The pointing. Alya was pointing at the cash she left on the windowsill when she went to open it. Ugh. As if this wasn't embarrassing enough, she was in front of Ladrien Agreste of all people. Why couldn't he have checked out before her? Why couldn't she have... She felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Ladrien reaching around her, looking ahead as he placed his package of ramen and 2 bills on the counter. "This too, please," he said. "We're together." "We're..." Ladybug looked from him to the cashier. "We're not." "That's €4 for the change, then," the cashier said, already finalizing the transaction. "Receipt?" "We're good, thanks." He stepped in front of her to bag the items, and Ladybug realized there was someone else behind them. One with their phone out and grinning. Great. She'd need to use the city budget to buy herself out of another headline. As they turned to leave, Ladrien grabbed the phone out of the guy's hand, pressing a few buttons as the stranger and Ladybug stared, slack-jawed. "Don't try following us," Ladrien said. "If this leaks, I'll put my legal team on you." Pulling out a bill as he set the phone on a top shelf, setting the money beneath it. The man sputtered, turning from the cashier, who didn't seem to care as she continued to scan, to him before yelling. Ladrien wore an annoyed expression as he put his arm around Ladybug's shoulder, leading her out. She was so surprised she went along with it until they were out of the store and turning into the alley. "Ladrien!" she hissed, batting his arm away with her own as she turned to look at him. "You can't just do that!" "Which is more rude?" he asked, crossing his arms. "Filming someone without consent or deleting that footage without consent?" "You can't just do that! Technically what he did wasn't illegal, but what you did was!" His phone was unlocked. Ladrien crossed his arms, but didn't meet her eyes. She knew he knew she was right. "The last thing I want is for you to get into a scandal because of me." She narrowed her eyes. Did something happen? "Excuse me?" His eyes met hers at the unexpected question, the green in his irises barely visible. "Is that why you stopped dating? Something happened to one of the girls?" He swallowed and looked away again, uncrossing his arms to shove his hands in his pockets. "Don't worry about it." "What about the gala?" "The gala?" "Yeah, you need a partner for it, right?" He ran his tongue over his lips and sighed, half turning away. Ladybug, I'll go with you then. Adrien froze, staring at the brick wall beside him before turning back. It's a shame the lighting was so poor, because although she could see his rigid expression, she couldn't read his eyes. Excuse me? I owe you for yesterday, and just now. What do you think? Is my date worth a photo shoot and $20? Yesterday, he repeated. Now she wished she couldn't see his eyes at all as they stared at each other. Oh, she'd messed up. She'd messed up big. First Cat, now this. Should she just put her identity on a billboard? I sent Cat Noir to Marinette first, she swallowed, and then you ended up filling in for him, right? He nodded slowly. I see. Besides, forget about that. Thank the Kwamis he wouldn't be able to see the flush on her cheeks. She'd majorly messed up this time. I owe you a $20. $20 for a gala date? And I don't even have to pay for my date's hair? He shook his head. Fair enough. We could call it even. Good. She placed a hand on her chest, her heart beating wildly, because I was invited and don't have a date either. What about, Adrien cleared his throat, adjusting his posture as he studied the brick again. What about that partner of yours? Who, Cat? Psh, no. Why not? I wouldn't want him to get the wrong idea. She felt him look at her as she turned to study the brick. But it's okay if I do. Huh? Ladybug snapped back, jaw slack. It's okay if I get the wrong idea? Wait, that's not... He laughed, covering his mouth as he turned away. I'm teasing, LB. But you'll have to pick me up or tell me your secret identity so I can send a limo. Which would you prefer? Okay. Take a breath, Ladybug. You just dodged an identity bullet. You wish you knew. She tried to cross her arms to match his energy, but the bag of soda and treats got in her way. Adrien smiled, looking every bit the heartthrob model he was. I can be trusted with a secret. I've never breathed a word of aspect to anyone, after all. That's right. Aspic. That was something he and Ladybug shared. Good night, Agrest, she said, reaching for her yo-yo. Thank you for the dual save. In exchange for a date? An easy cost. Don't get ahead of yourself. It's so I can return this bag, obviously. He laughed again at her banter, and she felt like a schoolgirl all over again. Yes, of course. I suppose that's fair. And it's not a date, she corrected. Of course it's not a date, Adrien shrugged, watching the yo-yo travel as she secured her exit line. We're just going as each other's date. Precisely. Will I need to buy cat repellent? She shook her head. Nothing's going on between me and him. Nothing to worry about. It won't even cause a misunderstanding, I'm sure. Adrien looked at the pavement. If you say so. He watched as she zipped away, and she wished, more than anything, she'd been able to see his face for that last bit. She was a fool. She spent forever getting over him and even started getting excited at maybe having a sliver of a chance with Cat Noir. And for what? To throw it all away to accompany her ex to a gala because of a few minutes together after he did something nice for her? It's a good thing she had Cat all these years to numb her, else she might have ended up with a cat collar. No pun intended. Oh, and now she'd have to tell Alya about it. Sugar and cookies. Ladybug really hadn't thought this one through. Her heart swindled by the heat of the moment. As usual, she succumbed to her heart's betrayal. Thank you so much for listening. Part 13 is on the way. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more fanfiction, and I will catch you in the next one. If you are still listening, comment "Good night, aggressed." I will catch you in the next one. Bye!